Welcome to You've Only Come to Hear United. So it's just a quick little look back on the game against Twente and looking ahead to the Tottenham game as well. So yeah, it wasn't obviously the most impressive result at the end of the day. However, it should have been a win. It shouldn't have been, again, it was another game we've mostly dominated. We created maybe not clear-cut chances, but we definitely had a number of shots and we got in good areas. And yeah, you want to see us win that sort of game, obviously. I think the one pick out there, we're not going to get too deep into it. I know there's been a lot of coverage already and people have said similar things. But the one thing for me, probably the standout disappointment was Bruno Fernandes again. And now, the thing is, and I've said this before, it's when people aren't playing very well, there's a very simple answer, and it's you don't pick them. And Bruno's not been playing great recently. I think fans know that since the season started. He's not exactly been on fire. But it's not a big deal. It's not all of a sudden, Bruno Fernandes doesn't work in the team. Maybe at the moment it's not working. And there are other things you can do, and we'll get into that in a moment. But ultimately, it's more of a case of it's not working right now. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's purely just off form. It's okay for players to not be in form. It's fine. People get so bent out of shape when someone has a bad performance these days. It's like they need to go. They don't work anymore. Get them out of the team. I don't get it. For years you'll have a player. This is why you have a squad. This is the reason you have a squad. It's so if somebody's not playing well, you can bring somebody else in. That's the whole point. And for me, as I said, we're going to come back to this. Joshua Zirkzee's been playing really well apart from the final touch in front of goal. So I like to see him in the Bruno Fernandes role. If Højlund's fit enough, get him back up front. This is sort of now easing into looking ahead to the Spurs game. That's what I like to see. It won't happen. Bruno's captain. We know he's not going to drop him for a big game like the Tottenham game at the weekend. But I think it would really, really help if he did. And I like to see Eric just have the balls to do it. Essentially. He's dropped big players over the past year. He has done it. He's dropped Casemiro when he's needed to be dropped. He's dropped Marcus Rashford when he's needed to be dropped. There's numerous other examples where, after a season, especially going into this year, we've seen at times he can play favourites, but that seems to have dissipated. And I think the last standing man pretty much is Bruno Fernandes now. Will he drop him for the next game? And I think he needs to be. It's not a big deal. Bruno might have a few games out of the team, then he might come back in and you look refreshed and raring to go again. And we're not going to know until he's given some time out of the team. He's played relentlessly now for the last, 4.5 years he's been at United? Just game after game after game, hardly ever injured. His output's been pretty consistent. He's had some patches in there where he's not played great and he always seems to come back round again. But to just keep playing him through the bad patches when we have now got a bigger squad and we have got other options and people who can come into the team, you've got to do it. Just give somebody else a shot right now. Now, the other thing that I think concerned me about the game against Twente, and I definitely we will see improvement against Tottenham. Actually, we're not going to see this rectified until we play a team of a different sort of standing. And was that while individually they did seem to be trying. There wasn't anyone in the team that I looked at and thought they're not really working hard enough, despite what Christian Eriksen said after the game and what Erik Ten Hag said after the game as well. But the one thing there I can see the truth in what they were saying about Twente wanting it more. Well, Eriksen at least saying that Twente wanted it more. Was there just seemed to be a lack of collective intensity. Like I say, individually, it seemed fine. I was looking at I kind of noticed the intensity from the off. Something wasn't right, but then looking at the individuals, looking at the team as a whole, something just seemed to be missing, and I couldn't work out, and I still can't how that adds up. How you can have individuals look like they're doing what they're, meant to be doing and really trying hard, but yet as a unit, as a whole team, they did seem to be lacking a collective intensity, and maybe that was a structural thing. Maybe there was a tactical element there. Maybe they were too detached for some reason and not pressing together at times, but that wasn't really obvious. But comparatively to Twente, there did seem to be a drop-off. It was just a really weird sort of thing. I'm like looking at them going, right, who's not pulling the weight? And I couldn't pick out anyone really, but there was definitely a lack of sort of drive and intensity in our performance, which you can kind of get. You know, you do see it with players when they get a game where they think, you know, they can take. So I think it's a subconscious thing where you think you can take your foot off the gas a little. You know, they do, whether they want to or not. It just tends to happen sometimes. Now, leading again into Tottenham, that's obviously not going to be the case. They're going to have the added sort of pressure of wanting to have a reaction to the game that's just gone, and I think we will see that against Tottenham. The problem is this weekend that may not be enough. Tottenham will thrive on having an end-to-end game. It's how they play anyway, and to play us at a time where we're still, even though we've been better this year, I still think we've got the basketball football in our locker still. And I think Tottenham may well bring that out in us. We have shown more control this season. Our metrics are generally better across the board. We're conceding a lot less shots. But if any team can bring back that dangerous Manchester United from last season, that Manchester United who played with fire more often than not, it's a Tottenham team who pretty much seem to play with fire every week themselves. It could be any score this weekend. I mean, I'm going to say I'd be very surprised if it was a 0-0. And it may well be now I've said that. But I really would. I reckon it's going to be a 2-2 at the weekend. I don't think you're going to see mega changes to the team. I think De Ligt will be back in. The midfield, maybe Casemiro comes in. Maybe. You'd say surely Christian Eriksen can't play 5 games on the bounce. I didn't think he'd be playing 2, 3 and 4 games on the bounce. So if Christian Eriksen plays on Sunday, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Apart from maybe Kobbie Mainoo coming back in, I just don't think you can guess that. You can't guess the midfield. You can't probably guess the forward line. You know, picking the 3 he's going to choose out of the attackers. I don't know which way he's going to go with that. Every week I think I've got it sussed and he goes and surprises us with a different selection. The only one I feel comfortable saying is I do think De Ligt will come back in for Harry Maguire. And aside from that, you never know with Eric these days. Anything could happen in terms of that lineup. You know, Eriksen and Mainoo weren't fantastic together, last year against Spurs, but that could very well be the midfield for the game at the weekend. I don't think Ugarte was super impressive against Twente. It's very early days for him though, and he's going to be given time. I think it wouldn't surprise me if he's back on the bench and comes on and just plays a role in the game. Whether we'll win or not, I think it'll be a 2-2. I think a 2-2 draw. I think there's goals for both teams. The errors for both teams too. They've both got strengths going forward. We've got the weaknesses. We need to start scoring goals. And if we can't manage to turn, I'm sure we'll get opportunities against Spurs. I'm sure we'll create chances. But if we can't convert them into goals, there's every chance Spurs will take their chances. And if Eric's on the end of a defeat and we've got we've got games against Porto and Aston Villa coming up, he's already under a bit of pressure. He's going to be under a lot more pressure.